Hello and welcome to what is video 3 in this series about Atlantis. And out of this comes what can we learn from this that we can then internalize. That is the whole point of me doing this. It's not about the external, but purely what the patterns in the external show repeatedly. Now, I've mentioned before about this book from 1923 called Irish Wisdom Preserved in Bible and Pyramids. Something that has been presented to me several times, but I've never made the connection, is the woman's name Siobhan. Now, it's a very strange spelling, considering how it is pronounced. It's Siobhan, but the B and the H sounds like a V. This comes from the Gaelic. This I feel is the common link, and this is why I assert that Irish Gaelic is a remnant from Atlantis. It can also be expressed as moving up and to the right in sort of Christianity, and also referring to the Kundalini rising and moving to the womb of creation, which is the right hemisphere, the divine feminine principle. So I feel physically it has been expressed, and this Church of Iessa, this remnant from Atlantis, not from just one destruction, but over successive destructions. There has been a lot that was saved, and there's so many clues in the linguistics, so this is the part I wish to come on to with this video. But what I will say is, where I do disagree with this book, Irish Wisdom, Preserved in Bible and Pyramids, is it in this book, the writer says that Atlantis is fictitious. But the pattern that emerges from looking at the external is you have the one side, which is about an enlightenment and about benevolence and improvement. Its opposite is something that is keeping you in darkness, in ignorance, forbidding you to read certain books and things, censorship. And this, I feel, is explained quite satisfactorily in that book, why Ireland in particular and its history, along with England as well, is so murky and vague around about 1000 AD. That, I feel, is done deliberately. I'd looked at this in the wrong way, looking for something coming from the Middle East, coming into Europe, moving from the east to the west. But as Jason and Archaics has explained, Tar means west. So Tartar means westerner. So when you see these old maps where it's got Tartarian Empire or Tartaria right across most of, certainly the Asian part of Russia and often North America, I feel what you've actually got there is a perspective from the dark side, as it were. So Tartaria just basically means it's still land that has not been Romanized. It is still in the control of this Church of Enlightenment, this Iessa. So what else can we look at that can support this? Well, that book actually shows Phoenicians, they're the sea people. Well, Ireland is surrounded by sea. It has numerous bays. It would make sense that you would have these ships going from there. It explains why there are 452 words that are common to Hebrew and to Irish Gaelic. It also makes sense of Hadrian's Wall and the other, I can't remember the name of the other wall, fairly close by, as being defensive from something in the north repelling something that is invading from the south, i.e. the Romans. So why was Ireland in particular so persecuted? That is because the source of the Bible, all the character names, all the place names, have their roots in Gaelic. So another example of this deception and how things have been misappropriated, if I can find on my notes here. For example, Dublin in Irish Gaelic, and I can only give you like an English pronunciation of this, is Baal Atha Cliath. Well, Baal is from a personification of the sun, where we get Baal and Baal. So that's been reversed over. Ulster basically means dew star. Dew comes again from the Gaelic Irish. It's U-I-L. It's Uil. It's also where you get the word fuel from, but it means blood. Now, the old Irish capital was Tara, the hill of Tara, which is protected and you're not allowed to investigate or dig. But that's the remnants of this centre of this enlightenment that was then spreading again after several cataclysms. It's always tried to come back like a phoenix and spread eastwards, going probably all the way to Japan, because there are things in Japan that are questionable from the official history, we're told. The pattern that emerges, this commonality with the sun worship, connected with Egypt and also South America. And then when we go into South America, you have this god, which you know as Quetzalcoatl, the Feathered Serpent. Another name is Amuru. So linking together what Kurimeo Ahau channel has shown, I put the link for his channel in the last video, but I would look also in particular at this video on the Feathered Serpent. The descriptions from the early Portuguese or Spanish talk of, I think it's the Aztec kings, completely covered from head to foot in white feathers. So this is where you get the whole idea and depiction of Jesus wearing white, and also the four that carried this Aztec king were also dressed in the white feathers. You can also see that reflected in the your sort of classic Wild West North American Red Indian with the feathers again. All references back to that. And as Kurimeo Ahau shows, feather, if I remember this rightly, comes from Iba. Now in Gaelic it means fire. It's where we get this word Hebrew from. Now a Hebrew, as explained by Kurimeo, means from the opposite side, from the other side. So if you had a civilization like Atlantis that had its centre destroyed, but now you have the remnants, what would be the colonies, the larger colonies, who've then carried on, who've not been affected in the same way. You know these people are friendly, so they would be equally described as Hebrews. So from the South American perspective, a Gaelic Irishman would be a Hebrew. From the perspective of a Gaelic Irishman, a South American or a North American would probably be described as a Hebrew. It's where we get Iberia, Hibernia. These all come from this same root, which means fire, as explained in this book. It comes from the Gaelic word Heba, and it means from Ea, the personified sun. Now, if you look also at the Ogham or the Ogham dictionary, find the more runic alphabet of this Old Gaelic Irish, you've got EA expressed as a vertical line with a cross. You also have IA, which looks very much reminiscent of the XX in the IXXI. Now, with this old Gaelic writing, which is basically a sort of a runic symbology, you have a series of short and long lines. So A would be a long double line. B is a short half line, and it reads from bottom to top. So you're reading vertically rather than horizontally. Now, on a stone tablet, I've not seen anything that actually explains this so far, but whether it would read from left to right or right to left, I would say it goes with the same as the Hebrew, and it reads from right to left. So you're reading upwards and then moving across, and then starting at the bottom of the next line and then reading upwards. I wonder what effect that would also have on the way we read, how that would affect the brain if we were reading on a vertical rather than a horizontal. Yeah, so the Irish capital was Tara Hill. So this is where you get Tartan, this is where you get Tatar, the Tartarians. It's just a name given by the opposite side. It's probably not even called Atlantis originally. I understand that it has a similar name, but this whole description of Atlantis, it seems clear from the pattern that the side that wants to keep you in darkness and ignorance, i.e. Rome, do not have the power of creativity or imagination. So could they have imagined such a thing, or would they have used something that was once real and then used that as a basis to build the lie upon? Let's have a look, what else have we got here? So when we've got to maybe after a third cataclysm, and of course since 1721 BC there have been other earthquakes and things. I don't know how many have directly affected Ireland, or Era as it was called, hence the Aryan race. Incidentally, while I think of it, if you look at all these religious depictions of saints and things, they have this halo on these stained glass windows. I feel all that is representing is an externalization of being enlightened, being an is real light, the light inside. I feel also, this has sort of come to me as I'm talking about this, an Israelite is probably alluding to an Iesa real light, because in this ancient Church of Ireland, this spiritual enlightening religion, it's all about this personification of the sun and the light. It's not actually real as such, but whether that in turn is just a story that is told from the perspective of a civilization that has lost technology, and so that's how they explain it. But what also comes out of this, when you turn to South America, to this character Amuru or Quetzalcoatl, he's benevolent. He's teaching people. It's like this Jesus character. It's one and the same as far as I'm concerned. Enoch, Jesus, Quetzalcoatl. It has just been separated off in the same way you have depictions or descriptions of Picts, Scots and Irish being separate, when in truth they're all Gaelic, they're all descendants of survivors of Atlantis that went in that direction. Likewise, the Toltecs, the Aztecs, and so on, are all descendants. And you'll see on this Feathered Serpent video how Quetzalcoatl or Amuru is depicted on a cross or carrying a cross, and also markers for people who died of snakebite got a cross on their marker, their sort of grave as it were. And of course you've got all this connection to sun worship. But I wonder also about that. Was it always sun worship? If we lived in a world, and certainly the South American architecture, that very old architecture, massive in size, said to be the closest to what was in Atlantis, maybe the tops of those pyramids were like observatories to look at the sky when we had the vapor canopy, so it was the easiest way to observe things. The sun, in that sense, would be an ambient radiation, but then you'd see all the stars a lot closer and a lot clearer. So probably the sun worship has always been there in one form or another. But you have this enlightenment that's being taken back out by what are called Irish monks. These are your Phoenicians, these are your sea people, these are bringing back the arts, the sciences, the knowledge to the surviving parts of humanity after this destruction of Atlantis, which I would suggest is probably at one time was worldwide, but of course the world has totally changed beyond all recognition. Not even just from cataclysms, you've got tidal changes that erode coastlines and can deposit and build up other coastlines, so the land masses are always changing. But I feel what was taken out of Atlantis and saved moved to what the survivors, or these ones that basically went on an exodus to escape this destruction of Atlantis, moved into what we call Era or Ireland, and saved what they could, and then started taking that knowledge and spreading it out, going as far as India, going to the Americas. And you can see evidence of that, and the commonality between Moors, Greeks, which are Creeks, as Old World Florida shows, the etymology and everything, the similarities, the common ground between it all. So, was Atlantis real? I feel yes, it was. Where exactly it was, it could be quite near Florida. It could be within that Gulf of Mexico at one time. Unless the seas suddenly drop and all will be revealed. You never know. This is said to be a year of revelations, a year of disclosure. But again, consider what the revelations and what the disclosure are. It's too easy to look externally and expect there to be something shown in the sky. What if it is all spiritual, internalized in feeling? That is the revelation. That is the disclosure that is shown to you. It's often said that in this reality that things are rediscovered by back engineering, reverse engineering. And I feel that across many of the YouTube channels are doing precisely that. By looking at the common ground across the various channels, we can get this picture. We can see also out of that, because there is an internal benefit to this, how we've been manipulated, and we are basically still to this day indentured servants in one form or another, normally through debt, through mortgage and paying to live, for example, the invisible change of the world of money and wealth and things. There's a lot more that I probably could say. There's a lot more. I've only made notes on the first few chapters of this book, but certainly it goes on further into explaining more about this Gaelic, Irish Gaelic, and how it is the root of so many languages, and it seems to be the common denominator. It seems to be a memory and possibly then reinforced by what we'd say are Irish monks or Phoenicians that are taking that knowledge back out to the Toltecs, the Aztecs, and also the North Americas, and bringing them back, trying to rebuild Atlantis again without the central landmass. But weigh it up for yourselves with all of these things. I'm not saying this is true, but certainly all the indications all seem to point in that direction. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll put the link in the description to that Feathered Serpent video. That's definitely worth watching. And also I'll put a link into the book Irish Wisdom Preserved in Bible and Pyramids. Certainly worth weighing that up into the equation across many other channels. To me it makes perfect sense. It explains so much. How we've got Caledonian and Chaldean, for example, Hebrew, Hibernia, and things like that. So I will say, I wish you all a beautiful day, and hopefully that has given you some aha moments. Because aha is the first and eighth letter, the eighth and the first letter. You've also got encoded in that the IXXI, if you take the two centre parts of the two eighths, the 88, the Lion's Gate. Check out also True Love channel for another very good perspective and a breakdown and showing you basically how to decode all these events that we are presented on the screens. So love to you all, and have a beautiful, beautiful day.